into the video. I'll be commenting too. Tell me if you have ever mistaken overeating as a way to have fun or to celebrate. Oh boy. So many times. We're going to talk about overeating tonight. And that overeating isn't fun. I know I feel pretty yucky when I overeat. I wouldn't think about what the event was. I would think about what the food was going to be. And it didn't really, the event was second. The food was first. It was always, what's the food going to be? What's the food going to be? What am I going to eat? What yummy desserts are going to be on the buffet? We're going out to eat. What am I going to get when we go? And of course, as women, we try to coordinate the food and make sure there's plenty of food, that kind of thing. But over the course of 2 or 3 years with Weight Watchers, I realized that the celebration was the event. The food wasn't the event. And I've always told my kids many times, like at Christmas, that it's not the presents under the tree, it's the presents around the tree. I don't care if there's any gifts under the tree except for the little kids, but the presents around the tree. Being surrounded by my kids and my grandkids, that is the important thing. The family. And with this shift in thinking, I guess you could say, I realized that all of my life, and I hadn't realized that before, that food had been the event. It didn't matter what event was, food had been the event. But mistaking overeating as the main event is something, honestly, our society encourages and something we've come to expect. It's all about the food. I can't hardly think of an event that doesn't involve food, especially if it's a celebration. Think about when you order at a fast food or a drive-through. Would you like fries with that? Would you like to supersize that? Would you like an order of mozzarella sticks? They're on sale today. Would you like to upgrade that to a milkshake or something like that? Yeah, I would, actually. I would love to. But it doesn't better me to do that. But when they ask those questions, I know they're told to because it's a selling technique. And I know they have to ask. But how much easier does it make it for us to say, yeah, go ahead. No, she's been married to a guy from Mississippi, Ricky, 1 year less than me and Randy. So she's been married to him almost 34 years. So Brooke were married just right out of high school. So yes, it makes it easy because all you have to say is yes, and you get twice the amount, the value, 20 more cents, and you get twice the food. What a bargain, except for ourselves. And I'm guilty too. I just don't eat it. I buy it though, bring home. So being honest though, how do you feel when you overeat? Yuck. I feel yucky. And not only do I feel yucky after I eat, I feel yucky the next day, maybe even a couple of days down the line. In the moment of overeating, every one of us goes, oh, Lord, I'm stuffed. I've eaten so much my belly hurts. Many times said that, many, many times. Or you wear your Thanksgiving pants. These are leggings. I can stretch them plumb up. You wear your stretchy pants so that you can eat a lot. That is actually one of my tactics at Thanksgiving and Christmas, is wear the tightest jeans I can squeeze into, laying on the bed and zipping them up tight because that makes my tummy uncomfortable to start with. So I don't wear, if you've ever seen the episode of Friends where Joey has on a pair of Phoebe's maternity pants and he calls them his Thanksgiving pants, that's a joke around here. We're wearing our Thanksgiving pants. I don't wear my Thanksgiving pants. I wear the tightest pants I can get into, so that helps remind me and make me feel of my tummy. Automatically start planning the next day. Yes, I get that too. Miserable after overeating. Oh, Italy, how wonderful, Karen. I bet you had a blast. Felt like all you did was eat. Yeah. I understand that too. Just something about getting back home, huh? Makes you want to do that. So our tummy hurts. Sometimes we have upset stomachs like indigestion, or it affects us with our bowel movements. Makes us sluggish. You know, they say turkey makes you sleepy because of the tryptophans that's in it. You know, you sit around in the afternoon and it's like, oh, I ate so much. I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. It makes us sluggish. And the way that hits me the hardest, I can deal with the tummy pain. I can deal with a little indigestion because I can always take some Tums. But the regret, the emotional side of it, I had a plan and I didn't follow it. Or I followed my plan up until, like you were saying, everybody left and I had all the leftovers. That hurts me worse than the physical discomfort of overeating. So there is a little bit of science behind overeating. You know, I love science and I always want to know the why. Oh, Sandy, yes. Upset with yourself for days. Susie, feel bad physically and mentally. Yeah. And, you know, I know how I'm going to feel, yet I go ahead and do it sometimes. So when we overeat, let's talk about when we stuff down all we can hold and then ice cream because it just melts and fills in all the cracks. When we overeat, especially on a regular basis, of course, we get an overabundance of calories, which we store in our bodies as fat. But other things happen in our body too. And that's what I was really interested in, is the science of what happens when I overeat. I know I feel stuffed. I know I feel miserable. I know I feel maybe ashamed or regret or frustrated. Hey, Dee, come on in. But your stomach's physical size actually changes because you have stuffed it full. Now, you can train your stomach, believe it or not, to stretch beyond its normal size for overeating. That happens, which causes the pain and the bloating. But you can actually train your stomach to feel full sooner. Now, nothing is going to shrink the physical size of your stomach much other than having like a surgery that shrinks the size. But there's a lot of other exciting things that happens when you start responding to feelings of fullness and not eating to the point of stuffed every single time. When you overeat often, your stomach does stretch so that it holds more food. I would hate to even know the capacity of my stomach. I'm sure it's probably, I don't know, 2 quarts, half a gallon probably, maybe more. I can eat a whole lot. So knowing that I have overeaten my whole life, and I like to have the feeling of full but not overfull, I tend to be a bulk eater. I eat a whole lot of the green density calorie foods we talked about last week. A lot of vegetables because they fill you up more than the heavier calorie dense foods. So I like to have vegetables, a whole lot of vegetables to fill me up. That is actually filler for my stomach. So as if I just ate this many mashed potatoes, if I've had this much salad, my stomach is going to feel content. as opposed to this much salad and this much mashed potatoes. So it's a muscular organ, our stomach is, so it does adapt and change based on what we eat. When you start eating smaller meals, balanced, and I'm not talking about scant meals. We're not on the starvation plan here. I'm talking about recommended portions, serving sizes. Your stomach learns to feel full with less food, and it's a gradual return. And it says once you start eating smaller, more balanced portions, your stomach will over time gradually return to a closer to normal size. But the chemicals is what's really exciting. The chemicals behind it, we hear a lot about ghrelin and the GLP-1s, all of this that causes us to feel full sooner. That's how they work, and make our stomach empty slower. So these hunger hormones, what happens when we start eating, I hate to say normal size meals, but you know what I'm meaning, size appropriate, portion appropriate meals. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, decreases when you eat normal. The hormone that tells you you're hungry decreases when you eat regular sized, timed out meals. Not wait all day and eat one big meal. Okay, leptin and insulin sensitivity improve so that your brain interprets these full signals more accurately. I drink quite a bit of water, a lot of water, and that helps me stay feeling full. But our brain is what tells us we're hungry. Our stomach has these chemicals and the hormones, and our brain interprets these as hunger signs, hunger signals, these hormones. So while your stomach doesn't shrink a great amount, a small amount, it will shrink some. What will shrink is appetite, because your body learns, or actually it relearns, fullness. So back yonder, back in the old days for me, I could eat 2 plates this tall, this big around. I could eat out of a wash tub, a big bowl. I could eat a huge amount. I eat way less than I used to because I always had seconds and usually had thirds, and my plate had layers, not just food. It was a lot of food. Like I could out-eat 2 grown men. I can't do that anymore. My body tells me I'm full sooner. So it does happen over time that we learn or relearn or learn what is fullness. I knew 2 hunger signals: hungry and stuffed. There was no comfortable. No, I'm okay. I'm either starving or stuffed, and that's the only 2 levels of stomach fullness I knew. And also mentally, that's the only 2 cues I looked for. Was I starving or was I stuffed? Instead of learning adequate. You hear me, Stephanie? Good. I'm proud that makes sense to somebody else. That adequate fills your stomach. Portion sizes fill your stomach. And if you get hungry, and it's real hunger, you can eat. But you don't have to eat the pot to eat. Our brain's pleasure system, this whole dopamine thing, our brain's pleasure system becomes more dull to food, less sensitive. Once we stop getting so much pleasure from food, our brain kind of figures out, okay, I'm not going to get this kick from food because they are limiting what I'm going to get. I'm getting this much, that's all I'm going to get, so I better feel good with it. Our brain starts learning different things. If we gorge ourselves, did y'all grow up with the old wives' tale, don't go swimming for an hour after you eat? You had to wait an hour before you could go swimming because you'd drown, they said. That was the old wives' tale when I grew up, is, once you eat, you can't get back in the water for a while. You got to let your food digest. And for the most part, it was a wives' tale, except for that when we eat, or if you're running, let's say you're running, your blood supply diverts to your legs because those legs need good oxygenation. They need blood supply. They're the muscles doing the work. Your mama's told you all that too. I was raised up. Don't get in the water. You'll drown. You'll get cramps, let's say. And it's actually true that is a possibility, because if we have eaten a big dinner, our blood supply is going to say, hey, we got a job to do, and it's here in the stomach. So if you get out there and start swimming aggressively, your body is saying, are we going to send blood to the legs because they're moving, or are we going to send blood to the stomach for digestion? You will, Stephanie. I believe in you. Debbie used to hear that too. Yes. So writing down somewhere, I believe in visual cues. I love my affirmations, little notes I stick places. We all have an assignment, and it's to write down, overeating is not fun, and put it somewhere. Where are you apt to overeat? Okay, I've got 2 places. One, and it's not here at the dining table. I'm in my dining room. It's not here at the dining table. One place I'm apt to overeat is when I'm laying on the couch at night watching a Lifetime movie or something like that, along about 8:30. Those blessed taken pretzels. When I get rid of this batch of pretzels, I'm not buying pretzels for a long time, because I'm kind of getting tired of them, and they make me retain fluids, and I was up this week for no good reason other than pretzels. So I'm not buying pretzels for a while after this. I'm going to try to get my sodium back down. So that's a good place for me where I set my drink, the side of the couch. That would be a good place for me to put, overeating is not fun. You don't want to go to bed with a full stomach. You don't want to go to bed stuffed. In the kitchen, when you're preparing food, filling plates, putting up food, that's another place I'm apt to, like you were saying, picking at the pie. That's a place I'm apt to overeat, is in the kitchen, cleaning up, putting up, that kind of thing. That's another good place to write that affirmation. Overeating is not fun. Overeating makes me sick. I know that, but I'll still sometimes do it. But the regret is the worst side effect for me. The regret, and like you said, just feeling miserable for days afterwards. And then when the realization set in, nothing tastes as good as that first bite, maybe the second bite. If you eat the whole pie, the first bite is always going to be the best, not the last bite. Because by the time you get to the last bite of pie, how are you feeling? Miserable, stuffed. And regret by then is usually starting to kick in. I shouldn't have eaten this whole pie. And no matter how good it tasted when you start, it doesn't taste that good when you're done. And it doesn't taste good the next day. And I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally and emotionally. It doesn't taste good for 3 or 4 days, because you replay that in your mind about, I didn't have to eat all that. I chose to eat that. I could have had a portion and been content. I ate 4 portions and I didn't have to. That regret and eating that regret for days is what's hard for me. We do need to give ourselves grace, forgive ourselves, move past it. Don't get caught up there in that point, but use that as a learning tool of, yeah, I didn't like how I felt after I ate half a dozen of donuts. First donut was pretty good, not half a dozen of them. So most of us said that we have used eating as a form of entertainment, overeating as more entertainment, I guess. So let's start thinking about turning that around. How can we look at other parts? We're coming into the holidays fast. We're sliding in quick here. Halloween is next week, and Candy Palooza. And if you don't participate in Halloween, it's all going to be on sale the next day. And right now in stores, I'm not sure if it's Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or if we're clearing out the summer stock. I've got red, white, and blue, jack-o'-lanterns, turkeys, and Santa when you go in the store. It's just all bombarding all of the food. And a Reese's, even if it's shaped like a pumpkin or a tree, it's still a Reese's. My husband swears they taste different in a good way, but it's still a Reese's. And as we slide into these holidays, let's look at the event instead of the food. If you buy candy for the trick-or-treaters, instead of thinking, I'll be proud when the last one shows up so I can sit down and eat the rest of this candy. Yes, I have had that thought and have acted upon that thought. How about saying, I am going to sit down here and enjoy looking at the joy in these kids as they're having the time of their life. That's the event. Same thing Thanksgiving. The event is not the food. The event is the people, and Christmas too. That's the event. And learning that really helped me start managing my holidays better. Not perfect. I'll never be perfect, but better. And learning that once I ate, interact. Get up, get busy, do something. Talk to people. That the eating event doesn't last the whole time I'm there. That's a portion of the time of there. You agree they taste different? Your mama, memories. That's when me and my friend met today. Our mamas was best friends, and we talked about our mamas. And in 5 hours, we talked about just pretty near everything, and caught up on old times. And what was funny is the little dairy diner where we met, the Daisy Queen, our mamas used to work there when we were kids. And we grew up being there as kids. We'd get off the bus there some days. And it was, I don't know, it was just a nice place for us to sit down. It's where all the teenagers used to hang out in our day. And when we walked in, Ginger looked back toward the game room. They have eating areas in the game room, and it was a game room when we were teenagers with the jukebox and the video games and the pool tables. And she looked and she said, well, there's a bunch of old people back there with gray hair. And I said, well, did we go to school with them? Because both of us are gray. We had a lot of giggles like that, and we got a kick out of that. And after a while, they left, and she said, we didn't know them. I said, okay. I said, remember, we're the old people now. But we got a good kick out of laughing. And, you know, laughing is one of the best medicines I've found. It makes all these feel-good hormones kick in effect, too. Almost as good as chocolate pie, I would even say. So this week, we're going to have a challenge. First is your assignment. Somewhere, write the affirmation, overeating is not fun. Friday is our mini challenge day, and I'll remind you of it on Thursday. And we're going to be mindful and start feeling our food. Sarah taught us over in the membership about waiting for the sigh. And there is one, if you listen. It's like, I'm starting to get kind of full. That isn't the cue to go get seconds. That's the cue to start examining fullness in your body. So watch for the sigh. That's something many of us was like, we don't think we've got one of those. And we had to watch for it and wait for it. So wherever you need to put your affirmation, put it there, that overeating is not fun. And Friday will be our challenge day to monitor our eating, eat mindfully, whatever it is that you need to do. Or if you have something coming up, as far as I know, Friday is just a regular day around our house. But believe it or not, I didn't finish my salad today. Not that I wasn't enjoying it, because I love a salad. But I thought, I'd rather talk. I ate probably 2/3 of it and then threw it out, and we just went right back to talking. And the event wasn't the food. The event was visiting. So our crumbs from the table. What does the Bible have to say about this? Well, the Bible has a whole lot to say about overeating, actually. And most of it just stomps my toes to a bloody pulp. That whole gluttony part, I like to just skip by that. So we're going to go New Testament, Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed. This is a verse a lot of y'all know. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Not very far into Weight Watchers, I said, the battle is not at the plate. The battle is in my head. Because the head told me what I was going to put in my mouth. That's where the battle was at for me, in my head. And don't be conformed to the world. Whatever event you've got coming up, maybe you have a Halloween party coming up. And just having the trick-or-treats around, if you've got those, or if you've got kids trick-or-treating or grandkids trick-or-treating, keep in mind, we don't have to partake of food to enjoy. So if the world says, and when you watch the commercials on TV, they sucker me into, the world says it's not Thanksgiving without, I'm going to say pumpkin pie, pumpkin everything. I'm in my pumpkin phase right now. Pumpkin everything. It's not Christmas without 14 candies. And technically around here that's about accurate. It is. It's still Christmas. It's still Thanksgiving. It still is a family get-together. It still is getting together with friends. So renew your mind. Be transformed. Be changed by the renewal of your mind. So when you come into these events, tell yourself it's not about the food. It's about the fellowship. It's about the people. Transform your thoughts. Renew your mind. Now, my sister-in-laws, Rita and Dolores, Dee we call her, are in here, and we have a family get-together coming up the first Saturday of November. So we may have to hold each other accountable on this. Last time when we met in May, Rita and I both agreed that pie was in order that day. Can't remember what pie I had, but I did have a piece of pie. We agreed that that day we were going to have pie. But you know what? Visiting always took the front burner. So when we get together, enjoy the event. The food isn't the event. So I'm anxious to see how we do this week. I'm working on mindfulness, evaluating real hunger, and God made our bodies so that it'll tell us when we're hungry and it'll tell us when we're full. That's when, when your kids would go, no, I can't hear you. That's kind of what I'm bad to do when my body is saying it's full. The little toddler in me plugging its ears saying, I don't hear you saying you're full because I want more. It kind of sounds very childlike when you say it like that, but that's exactly the dialogue that goes through my mind is, I'm full, I need to quit, but I want. Pamela says, so if you're having pie, did you cut back on lunch or dinner calories or just go over? I just went over. That was a day. I just went over that day. It was, our family gets together twice a year in May and November for Thanksgiving, and I just went over that day. I didn't eat everything there was there. I could have, because there was some good stuff there, but we enjoyed a good meal. One plate, no seconds, and then a dessert. That was kind of my rule. I either get seconds or I get a dessert, and I'm going to opt for desserts every time. You know, we have our weekly points that we can budget in and use for this. If you count calories, you can go not extreme restriction, just to the lower end of your calorie range for a day or two to kind of bank up some calories and use a little extra. None of us developed a weight problem from one day of eating, and that's a hard pill to swallow. I would love to say, oh, I remember back in 1979 when I ate too much at Thanksgiving, and that's why I have a weight problem today. It wasn't one meal, one Thanksgiving. It was 365 days a year for about 50 years that gave me a weight problem, not a meal. So keep that in mind too. It's okay to have a treat. It's okay to celebrate, but be mindful. One meal's not going to, it's just like eating a salad and the next day you get up and think, well, I should have lost 10 pounds. I had a salad yesterday. We all know that doesn't work that way. I've tested that theory many times and found it to be untrue. If I eat healthy one day, that doesn't mean the next day I would lose weight. It takes consistency. And in that same way, celebrating a meal is not going to throw you off that much if you can get back on the very next meal. And that's something that I have a hard time with, is getting right back the next meal. I want to keep on this food frenzy type of thing. So let's trade the temporary fun of overeating for the lasting joy of knowing we made good choices. And that's going to be our challenge. It'll come up this Friday. I'll post about it on Thursday to remind you it's coming. And Friday we're going to practice, are we full? Can we quit? Can we stop? Practice feeling fullness and not overeating. All right, I do have a special announcement. You guys hear me talk about the membership all the time. Here's my book I'm working in today. Right now, there's a special going. If you've wanted to know more about the membership, want to know what it looked like, what we did, what we talk about over in that Facebook group, for a limited time, we have a 2-week free trial. That's how much we think you'll like the membership. You can join for 2 weeks before you're billed, and if within those 2 weeks you say this is not for me, you can cancel and your card won't be charged at all. But I think you'll like it. I think you'll want to stay. There's a lot of activity over in that group, a lot of support. There's about 200 members, and we all have the same projects we're working on, and we share like where we're at in working on that. So we're about to close out a month. You don't have to wait till the 1st of November, but if you want to try the membership, not sure it's for you, come check it out. It's free for a 2-week trial. So talk to you guys later, and we're going to do good on our mini challenge Friday. Bye-bye.